from Julio Cruz and Gaylord Perry to Alvin Davis and Harold Reynolds to father and son back-to-back bombs, from Junior J, Joey, and Edgar with Randy, A-Rod, Dan, and the Sheriff, to Ichiro Moyer and Mikey C, to King Felix, Kyle Cruz, and Cano, to the present with Julio, Gilbert, Kirby, and Cal. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. My, oh my, it's another sports podcast. And RG's already repping, already feeling fresh to death. My, oh my, the Eagles are soaring, flying high with a critical win amongst the blizzard. Some of the homies in the live chat are already down on their teams. It is literally the best weekend of football, in my opinion. Shout out to Nashville, Tennessee with Vaden Podcast Services. That's Vaden Podcast Services, our one and only homie, Indy. Super producer rocking the ones and twos. Thanks for all you do. They bring the show to life. They're the ones that keep this thing on the tracks. Shout out to all the homies in the live chat wherever you are joining us from. Shout out to all the people listening via podcast. But of course, my man is cooler than a polar bear's toenails. Flying high. RG, what's going on down in Albuquerque?
Nah, I ain't bad. Just don't kiss no ass and take shit. And I'm a grown man. Find you somebody to play with. You don't like me when you see me, better not say shit, because I'll choke your ass out like Dre did that bitch. What a fantastic, phenomenal 2 days of football. Still got one more left, but you know what it is. It's time to go to work.
No doubt, man. Well, we can go a lot of ways. Texas Power, I feel you, man. That's got to be really frustrating with how it went down in Kansas City. But top of the mind right now, RG, his favorite, his love, the Philadelphia Eagles, giant win. It was extremely close, competitive, down to the wire. But man, that O-line and Saquon, Jalen Carter, big play Slay with some big time pass breakups. Give me your thoughts on this game overall, man. You must be thrilled right now.
Man, what a stressful, wonderful, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, tear-jerking, anal-clenching, just run the full gamut of emotions today in South Philadelphia. And just so happy that my boys were able to come out on top. Got the snow globe game we were all hoping for. But Saquon Barkley, man. What? I get that Josh Allen's probably going to win it, even though Lamar deserves it. But of the three that are at the top of the list, Saquon Barkley is absolutely the MVP of the National Football League. No other way I could put that. So happy to have that guy. If you're the Rams, you hate Saquon Barkley. You hate the Giants as much as we in the NFC East do. But just what a phenomenal game, man. Injuries got us early. Losing Quinyon Mitchell, not being able to have that lockdown corner that he's been all year in his rookie year. At times, Rodgers looked like he was going to give up the cookies and let them rob the bank, but he stepped up and made plays when he had to. Jalen, of course, did not have another spectacular day and injured his knee as well, too. But big-time teams make big-time plays when it matters, and we were able to get the W, dog, and just survive in advance.
Absolutely. There's no room for style points. This isn't about covering someone's spread. It's about winning football games. Absolutely, man. And it was just so fun to see how cold it looked in Philadelphia. And one thing we always talk about, man, the explosive plays. Well, we think about in the passing game, but what if you can get the explosive touchdowns in the running game, which Philadelphia clearly did Saquon ripping off one for 78, another one for 62. Jalen Hurts keeping itself on a quarterback counter with two pullers, two of the best offensive linemen in all of football out in front of him for a 44-yard touchdown itself. I have said this before. There has been more creativity in the running game than I've seen in a long time recently in football, and I absolutely love it. Then you pair that with a quarterback that can run with Hurts, the best offensive line in football, and clearly the best running back, who maybe he's not MVP. He's had the best season of anyone in football. You put that all together, you don't need anything more than 150 passing yards to get the job done. And if you can't stop the run, I don't see any reason the Eagles can't take this all the way.
Man, well, I'm not going to count my chickens from my eggs hatch. You know, I'm not one of them type of fans. We're going to have our hands full next week with a guy who may end up terrorizing the National Football League for the next 10 years with Jalen Daniels. And it's a divisional game that just so happens to be for the right to go to the Super Bowl. And you've been watching football as long as I have, and you well know divisional games are the hardest ones to win. You know each other so well. Just, oh man, still excited about the victory we pulled off today. Shout out to the Rams, man. Came in, gave it everything that they had. They definitely had improved from the team that we beat back in week 12. Their young defense at times had risen to the occasion. I'm a Florida State fan when it comes to college football, so I love to see Verse and Fisk out there doing his thing, and unfortunately Fisk got hurt. But Verse was out there wrecking hell, man. He was out there talking shit, taking names, whooping ass, everything that love to see a defensive player do. Just hate that he had to do it against my Eagles today. But again, just made the right plays when necessary. Jalen Carter is going to be a beast moving forward. That dude has basically put it on his back, was like, don't worry about it, I got it. Now, when Saquon scored, I'm sitting in the house yelling, ball game. And then the Rams went down the field in less than 2 minutes to get back within it and had a chance to win it at the end. And thank God for that errant pass on fourth down, or my mood might be a little bit different than it was tonight. But all out great team win. We're going to have some issues with the kicking game, which is unfortunate because Jake Elliott had been so good for so long. And just to see him and Justin Tucker both fall off at the same time, a little frustrating. But again, got the job done. What more can you ask for? You got a chance to play to win to go to the Super Bowl. Hey, that's what we're here for. Let's take it to the live chat real quick. Thank you for rocking with us tonight. Texas Power Ranger, man, I'm depressed. Hey, Nashville sucks. Seattle sucks. Hey, man, if there's anybody that should feel bad, it should be you, because you not only went into Kansas City and did the majority of what you were supposed to do to come out with the win. Unfortunately, the guys in the zebra shirts didn't see it that way, and we can start that conspiracy conversation here shortly. But yeah, man, it was a great week of football. The Eagles offensive line makes me so jealous, man. It's Lane Johnson, the future Hall of Famer. Finding Jordan Mailata the way that we did. Lander Dickerson coming with that pedigree from Alabama. Jurgen sliding in for Jason Kelsey. And then to get the guy from the Jets, Big 77, who no one really gave a shot to. And we didn't even really know what he was capable of until OTAs, and just being able to come in. And man, there's times he gets caught downfield when we're running screens, but hey, you know, he can only stay 1 yard for so long out there trying to do his job. But no, we have a really good offensive and defensive line, and hopefully those guys get some rest, get some nagging injuries taken care of, because they're both going to have their hands full next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time with the Washington Commanders. Tyson Baxter, truly believe this year would be our year, must admit. You know, we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll chop up more about how the weekend went. Sunday Evening Media asked, is Sirianni still coaching for his job? Now, he's safe. He's safe again. The team has performed well. What is killing me is Kellen Moore's decision making. There were times when, after Jalen gets hurt, we're obviously in a position where we should be running the ball. And he called 3 pass plays to me that just didn't make sense. One of them caused us to give the Rams the ball back to have them come down the field with a chance to win it late in the game. But the defense was able to step up and kind of wipe out the offensive play calling mistakes. So the margin for error this time of year is extremely thin. Hopefully, it's something we can work on getting better moving forward into next week. Because next week's got to have it. And next week's definitely got to have it. And none of those mental mistakes, no lapses, no overfaith in what can be done. Just stick to the game plan, dog. We're a running football team. That's just how it goes. I know A.J. Brown is a mouthy, needy, devious receiver. He's worth his weight in salt, but run the ball. Run the ball. That's what we need to do.
He gets paid enough. To me, the pay is the respect, and then at that point, you gotta play to your team's scheme. And the Eagles are obviously going to be a run-heavy team right now for all the reasons that we both kind of laid out there already. But man, I kind of thought it could have been Baltimore's year too. But here's the bottom line, RG. You just said how thin of a margin it is between winning and losing this time of year. So the Kansas City Houston game, 0 turnovers by either team. Fantastic job. But for any of the games that had turnovers, the team that protected the ball won the game 100% of the time. 100% of the time. So first order of business is protect the rock. Don't give extra turnovers. Most of the punters are damn good nowadays. The punting, actually, we never talk about it, is actually gotten to an incredible level that I didn't know could happen until we brought in all these Australian rugby style dudes, and it's completely changed the game. But look at Washington +5 win, Eagles +2 win, Buffalo +3 win, and then for example, Baltimore had 143 more total yards than Buffalo, but 3 turnovers, man. That's the difference. And Tyson Baxter's very first comment, Mark Andrews no longer welcome. That guy's got to be sick. He's been one of the best players on the team for a long time now, and he literally dropped the ball twice in the most critical of moments. That guy must be sick to his stomach, but it's really simple. 1, 2, and 3 on the list of priorities all the time, but especially in the playoffs, man. You gotta protect that rock to give yourself a chance.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're talking about yardage differences. Lions almost put up 500 yards of offense, but 5 turnovers is hard to overcome. They got lucky once this year in Houston with Goff throwing 5 picks, and we even talked about that where one of the people rocking with us live in the chat brought up that it was their defense that bailed them out and not so much something that Goff did. And then he was absolutely right, because then we fast forward to Saturday night, and that you talk about a franchise who's thirsty and has been pushing and pushing and pushing. They're the number 1 seed. Home game. You got the lowest seed possible. You score the opening drive touchdown with Jahmyr Gibbs, and then the Cole man just showed up. Jaden Daniels has. Talk about having no fear of the moment. That might be the coldest rookie that we've seen in a long time. Like, there's no overexcitement. The lights weren't too bright for him. Just came out and did what he had to do.
Preach.
Lions got cute.
Preach.
Lions got cute. Tried trick plays that turned into turnovers. Just the most unfortunate time to shit the bed that the Lions absolutely picked, man. But again, that's why the games aren't played on paper. We got to get out there on the field and do it. You're a 9.5 point favorite at home. You got to come out with more sense of urgency to protect that rock. But that's kind of who they are. You know, Dan Campbell likes to be Dan Gamble and likes to take some risk and go for it. And last night it bit them in the ass.
And it bit them in the ass last year. I firmly stand that I feel the Lions gave the game away to the 49ers last year, being too frivolous on 4th down. And let's keep it real here, RG. We're not saying play scared, but there is a definite difference between being aggressive and being wasteful. There's a giant difference between going at it and being stupid, frankly. And dude, Jaden Daniels, you got to be kidding me. Like, and from a physical standpoint, clearly he's cool as it gets, man. This guy is Joe Cool Jr., without question, as a rookie. But just a couple things on him. The guy is deadly accurate, and he's the second fastest quarterback in football. I mean, if he doesn't get hurt, this guy has everything it takes to have a Hall of Fame type career. I say this a lot, and people get me twisted at times, but you got to listen to the words. There's Hall of Fame talent, then there's Hall of Fame players. Lots of guys have had Hall of Fame talent, and for whatever reason, it doesn't become a Hall of Fame career. But so Jaden Daniels, to me, is clearly a Hall of Fame talent. We'll see where this goes, because obviously it's only his rookie year. And then the other factor is I need my quarterbacks to play a ton of college football, man. Bo Nix has 5 years of starting experience. Jaden Daniels, 4 or 5 years of starting experience. We need these quarterbacks to go through the peaks and valleys of college football before we can ever expect them to thrive in the NFL. And then look at the nightcap today. Josh Allen might not have been the limelight, but he grinded his ass off at Montana working on his craft. We know Lamar Jackson completely uplifted a school that's known for basketball and became the most electrifying college football player we have maybe ever seen. So props to Jaden Daniels, but just holistically, RG, I need my quarterback to play a ton in college, because it's clearly, become a huge, and it always has been, but it's a huge factor on success or failure.
True. Josh Allen went to Wyoming. He's a Mountain West Conference product. Same conference my Lobos play in. So we got to get that one right. Shout out to the Mountain West, who has produced some athletes, even though we're a small group of 5 conference. Even look at Jalen. If your college experience rounds everything together. Hold on, we'll get to that in a minute, Meredith Lifers. I got an interesting one for that. And look at Jalen going through being in the championship game in Alabama, getting benched for Tua, having to come in and bail Alabama out the fire, realizing there wasn't room for him, going to Oklahoma, learning how to throw the ball better than what he did in his first 3 seasons at Alabama, coming in to do the work it took him. I mean, let's be honest. Even though Kansas City got the win, Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
If we're coming to where he outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl. So, like you said, to be tried by fire, one of my favorite sayings in life is pressure busts pipes or it makes diamonds. And to be able to be put in that pressure cooker and develop, that's part of the reason what's wrong with Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. The guy hasn't played enough, hasn't been tested enough, and he's learning now on the job, and learning on the job in the NFL is a very hard thing to do. Even take your boy Johnny Manziel. Trying to learn on the job is a very hard thing to do. We were having that conversation a little bit, talking about Jalen Daniels. If you're the Bears ownership staff, you should fire the fuck out of your scouts in your front office. That you really had a chance to get Jalen Daniels, and you went with the miniature version of the weekend, knowing you haven't been able to develop a quarterback. I mean, how many starting quarterbacks have you had since you won the 85 Super Bowl? Just completely shit and missed the bed on that one. But, happy that he is where he is and was able to. I mean, Washington was one of the worst teams in the league last year. To be able to have the number, to have the number 2 pick, you are the worst team in the league, basically, and an overnight turnaround just with the guy who gets it. And a lot of that also has to do with them getting rid of Daniel Snyder finally, and having an ownership group and a leadership staff that knows what it takes to be able to go out and get this thing done. Now, does 1 year create a trend? Absolutely not. But they are absolutely peaking in the right direction to be able to compete. And they've surpassed the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
They've absolutely surpassed the Cowboys. Jerry Jones doesn't have pockets deep enough to try to make them as competitive as Washington is in one season with this kid. Giants got all types of problems. Philly will remain to be seen. The next week's going to tell a lot about how we happen to make it forward, going through with where we're at as an organization. But shout out to Jalen Daniels, man.
It's fun too. It's just fun to see, and I just want to speak. I know we're just throwing mad flowers at Jaden Daniels right now, and we're clearly not the only people in the world doing that. But I'm a West Coast fan for all sports, and Arizona State is obviously where he started playing his college ball, and it was ugly at times early for him, but he really worked at his craft, developed into a better player, became the Heisman Trophy winner at LSU, and now we see what he's doing at this level. So I just think it's so cool to see how many struggles he went through at Arizona State as a team and as a young player at times, and to see what he grew into is freaking awesome. And man, though, you're right. Bears got to be kicking themselves. But at the same token, do we know if Jaden Daniels would be the same player if he was on the Bears or not? We talk about this in all sports, and you can't be a team of old guys, but veteran leadership is really important. And you see that Washington goes and gets Bobby Wagner. They go and get Zach Ertz. They bring in a couple of guys just that have been there, done that, won Super Bowls, lost Super Bowls, all that stuff that really calluses you as an NFL player just to help lead the young group. And you said it, that ownership is so freaking crucial. Getting a toxic, okay, Washington with Daniel Snyder, we know it's toxic. It might have even been criminal for all we know. So it doesn't get any worse from an ownership standpoint than what it was. So kudos to Washington. They gotta be thrilled, but man, there's a lot on the live chat right now. I'll just go to Mariners Live for really quickly. Geno Smith is kind of what we're talking about, and you got to protect the rock because his passes are as pretty as it gets between the 20s, but you cannot turn over the football, give the opposition extra opportunities, and then especially if you're knocking on the door. I believe 4 red zone picks, 3 were in the end zone itself, 1 against the Rams, returned for 103 yards, which ended up being the season backbreaker. I'm just going to pound my fist on the table, protect the rock, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can't win the game when the ball is in the other team's possession, and you need to do something with it. Can't give them those type of opportunities, man. But what a great weekend we still got coming up with NFL. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we want to see. On the AFC side, you got Big Bad Patty and the Big Bad Wolves. Have the Arrowhead Invitational, as Scott Van Pelt likes to call it, with the reason why they changed the overtime rules was hopefully to get to see this game live up to this type of hype. And now next Sunday afternoon, we all get to be fans and just sit back and watch what could be a great duel between them. But before we get to Arrowhead, we got to make a trip down South Broad Street. Get yourself a cheesesteak. Get yourself a raw beef sandwich with some broccoli raw. Come down South Broad Street and come kick it with your boys down there in the link, man. We gonna put on a show, man. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. Any thoughts about the first 2 games that happened on Saturday, man? I really feel bad if you are a Texans fan because you really did everything you were supposed to do. And 2 blatant calls that should have not been thrown, extended drives, and put Kansas City in position to take advantage of the moment. Just, the winners win. We know how it is. We all grew up in the era of Brady. Brady was going to get a call, even if they had to make up a rule and throw a flag along the way. You knew Brady was going to get a call. Mahomes is that same stature of player now. I just think it is absolutely atrocious that the referees had a good hand in deciding that game instead of the talent on the field. What you say about it?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. And it's such a tough one to me because I honestly think in that first one by Will Anderson is kind of maybe letter of the law penalty, but that shouldn't be neither here nor there, man. This is playoff football. You gotta keep that flag in your pocket on that play. One of my favorite things in the NBA is although it might be soft much of the year, I love it at the end of the game and at the end of playoff games when refs roll their whistles. We don't want to see the free throws. We don't want to see the free 15 yards. These guys work their asses off. They dedicate their entire lives to their craft to get to these moments, and nobody wants to see the zebras be the deciding factor. Do I think the NFL is rigged? Not in totality, but there's one thing we know that is an absolute fact, RG, because it's been proven in the NBA in the early 2000s that the refs have literally been on the take with the mob. So that's something that I'm always going to consider in different situations because it's something that really happened. And if you wanted to tell me that the NFL was telling the refs, like, hey, maybe in a critical moment, lean a little towards Patty. I could see that happening, but there's absolutely no way in God's green earth that you can orchestrate an entire season on the take. But we know what has happened and what's logical, that these things could possibly be in there. I'm also going to add, though, man, it's just soft penalties. It's just soft penalties, and I don't like them, whether they could be technically right or not. We shouldn't be calling those. But the kicker, Fairbairn for Houston, man. A kicker struggling. So basically, Texas Power, the season ends because of some shitty calls and your kicker. It doesn't get any worse than that. And also, you know my respect for Patty Mahomes. I have so much respect for what he's done in this league, but he's starting to bug the shit out of me. And this is why. It's not that he's getting the calls, it's that he's tiptoeing on the sidelines, trying to get the call in his favor. He is dancing around in the middle of the field when he should have gone out of bounds. When he's dancing around, that's when the two Houston defenders collided with each other, I might say. He got the unnecessary roughness penalty, but a lot of people are going to tell me, "Oh, a killer doesn't care about that." I don't give a shit. I do think that you're supposed to play sports with a certain level of sportsmanship, and it's not about patting the other guy on the ass. It's about playing the game a certain way. It's the same way what's his name, your backup quarterback when he was at Pitt,
Pickett.
Picking. Yeah. You remember in college, he did that fake slide. The defender gave up because he didn't want the penalty. Dude runs for another 50 more yards. It's those sort of plays that are driving me crazy. And it makes me like a Lamar Jackson, a Jalen Hurts, a Josh Allen. It makes me like those players a lot more because they're on such a high level, but I don't see him trying to take advantage of the rules. And it's just bugging me. I don't like seeing that happen.
True, and it is a double-edged sword. When you're able to make the rules work in your favor in life, of course you're going to take advantage of it. We
Mhm.
hate to see it in sports, but you're absolutely right. They collided with each other and they didn't even make contact with him. And where's the expedited review from New York at in a situation like that? They always happen to come up with real quick in certain situations where it's, oh no, New York reviewed this and we're gone on. Or a couple times this year, New York has thrown a flag. Is that what we're going into now? Is that the replay booth can now decide what's the penalty and what's not? If we're gonna allow them to have a handful of plays, might as well give them all the power or make everything subjectable to it. But just unfortunate it played out the way it did for the Texans. And shout out to CJ Stroud, man. All this talk about Jane Daniels, we got to forget what CJ did last year with the numbers he put up. And now he's one of the few rookies that have won 2 playoff games in his first 2 seasons, and just to continue to develop, man. So with guys like CJ Stroud and Jalen Daniels, and even the way Bo Nix perform, NFL is going to be in good hands moving forward.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I still believe some of these other guys are going to improve and get better. We talked about this last week. Not all young players pop at the same time. I was thinking about that actually with the Ravens game because Rashad Bateman has had a really good season. He had another really good game. And for the last few years, his label has been first round bust, period. And he's come out, he's had a damn good season. He has earned the respect of his peers throughout the league. He's going to continue getting NFL paychecks into the future. So I just want, we can't always judge a guy immediately. I see, some of the homies in the live chat are debating about Drake May. And from everything I understand, he's actually played pretty well within the circumstances. But like I said, we can't make up our minds always right away on these young players. Most rookies aren't ready for the limelight anyways. A great example for your team, the Philadelphia Eagles, is it Nolan Smith, the edge rusher from Georgia?
Yes.
Completely different player year one to year
Absolutely. Two. Absolutely. Last year, people were ready to give up on him, ready to ship him up out of town. This year, he's been the missing piece to get everything back together, man. Just absolutely giving a young player a chance to develop into what he absolutely could be in the right circumstance happened to pay off great for that guy. Playing in Fangio's system compared to playing in the system that we had last year, and his confidence grew as well too. And I also think it helps that he's around the young core of the Eagle defense, that they're able to pump each other up and get in there and know what they're feeling and kind of go from there as well too, and that all started with us getting Jordan Davis. I know Jalen Carter gets all the pub, but even a guy like Nakobe Dean didn't have a great first year as well either. And then this year, just him and Smith just made tremendous gains. Now we were, kind of ragging on Caleb Williams a little bit, but I just don't think he's in a system in Chicago that's built for him to be able to thrive. So no matter what it is that they do, I don't think that the environment is conducive to train him in the way that he needs to be. Now, the guy has the talent. The guy absolutely has the talent, but it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. Again, we go back to a guy like Anthony Richardson, and he's not the only one that we can throw in there as well too. I like to harp on him a lot, but Jamarcus Russell had all the tools to be able to do something, and that guy had less than a cup of coffee in the league. Mariners Lifer.
Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. Mariners Lifer is 2025. We should have reviewable penalties. Missed face mask should not happen. Things like that. I think that they should open up the window a little bit on what can and cannot be reviewed when they go in and under that hood, especially if it is impacting the outcome of a game, like a missed face mask, which we had a couple times this year in Impact. You're a Seahawks fan. If they go back and review that face mask penalty that the Rams should have gotten called against the Vikings when they played in the regular season, that game may turn out to be another way. And if that game swings, Seahawks win the division. It impacted a lot missing a call like that, especially at the end of the game. But, I am a baseball fan. And if you tell me that we're going to robot umpires in baseball, I'm flipping over a desk and a table. Like, nah, hell no. We need that idiot back there screwing up the game because that's just part of the game. So, again, it's a double-edged sword. But, I guess what I don't understand is what falls under the letter of what's allowed to be expedited reviewed by New York and what's not.
When it's just clearly obvious. I guess it is the case there. But I think also we're talking about letting young guys grow and whatnot. And especially when it comes to quarterbacks, you were talking about Richardson, Jamarcus Russell. I also think we need to put the onus on teams for making shitty draft picks that high, though.
True.
Like, we have such high expectations when a guy is drafted so high, but you're the one that has been telling me that Anthony Richardson played not even like a season at Florida. And so he's basically a high school quarterback to a certain extent coming to the NFL. Is there any reason a guy with that amount of experience should be drafted in the third spot? Was there any reason that Trey Lance, with one game played in 2020 COVID, should have been the third pick of the draft? So we also need to put the onus on these teams to make responsible draft picks, because not only does it hurt your franchise, the coaches are going to get fired, but it's also not good for the young man either. So this is why I love to look at the whole big picture, because lots of times you got Jamarcus Russell lying about watching video, sipping on the scissor, that sort of thing. But the teams also got to be responsible themselves by making solid draft choices. And I know it's easier said than done, but boy, do teams reach so hard for quarterbacks. We close our eyes and believe that two at the club is actually a 10, and we hope with all our fucking might, man.
You know, I ran a club when I was in my early 20s, and we used to call it getting hypnotized by the spotlight, by the strobe light. Strobe light going off, man, and you in there. My buddy Brent, for instance, he dancing one night, and we're all kind of just sitting there, just looking at him, just giving him the, and he can't see us giving him the signal, but he's just having fun with what he was having fun with. And then when the lights came on, whoo, that 10 turned into a bugger wolf real quick.
And we gotta keep it real. We all been there before.
Absolutely.
You'd be lying if you didn't.
Absolutely. 3 shots of Jose Cuervo. You don't know what you out there doing.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But hey, man, a lot of fun still to be had. New odds are released for Super Bowl champions, and the Eagles have gone from a plus 700 to a plus 175, ahead of the Chiefs at plus 225, Bills at 250, and Washington at a plus 600. So if those futures are still looking at that the way that it is, I look at the sports book like an investment, and I say you sprinkle a little something across the board on all 4 of them if you can, if you're into that type of thing. I say you sprinkle across the board on all of them and just let the chips fall where they may. I would put the heavier amount on the lower odds and then the lighter amount on the higher odds, and just kind of let it see where it gets. And as long as you can make more than what you put in, hey, you winning right there. But those are still some pretty good odds, considering we're down the championship weekend and no one's at a minus favorite. So, again, if that's your kind of thing right now, take a look at the future for the Super Bowl before we get to next week.
I think that's pretty spot on, though, man. Could you really stick your chest out there and definitively say that you think there is a major favorite for these final 4? To me, I could make a reason that each one of the last 4 could easily win the last 2 games of the year.
Absolutely. That's why I had to put the phone down and not get caught up in the Eagles Bleacher Report page. Just a lot of guys already looking forward to February 9th. And I'm like, dude, we still got a game to play. And I know what they're looking, the reason why they're looking at it that way, because if you take a look at how the game was going before Jalen got hurt, it should have been a boat race. Mm-hmm. But Jalen got hurt. Pickett came in. Yeah, he scored a touchdown on the first drive. And then we were living and dying with how accurate that Elliott was or was not all game. And the defense did a lot to try to carry it, exhausted at the end of the game. Jalen Daniels has another one of his moments right down the field in the last minute and a half of the game and gives us our 3rd loss of the year. So, yeah, like you said, there's a reason why you can believe each of the 4 teams had a shot, and there's also things you could pick apart about the 4 teams. Kansas City's been skating by the edge of their teeth. And eventually that catches up to you like it did with the Eagles last year. It catches up to you, and just it's going to be exciting, man, no matter how you slice it, man. It's going to be fun and exciting moving forward in the championship weekend.
Oh, absolutely, man. Is Josh Allen going to be his era's Patrick Ewing? Just can't get out of the Eastern Conference because some dude is just going back to the chip every freaking year. Certainly a possibility.
For him to be Patrick Ewing officially, he'd have to make it once and then run into Hakeem.
Oh, that's right. Good point. I forgot about that one. And never mind, they made it back too, didn't they?
Yeah,
With
and they
the
made it back in
Latrell
'99.
Sprewell, Allen
Yep.
Houston. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm tripping then. He's got work
Yep.
to do to even get on that level. My bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's got some work to do to get on Patrick Ewing's level. But if this is what they wanted, this is what it was built out to be. So it'll definitely be fun as we move into championship weekend next year in the NFL. But before we get to championship weekend in the NFL, you know what tomorrow is, baby.
How excited are you? I mean,
I'm with Tommy, baby.
Tommy.
I'm with Tommy, baby. Be drinking Jameson and Guinness all day. We rolling with the Irish tomorrow for the CFP. Now, I'm gonna be realistic. There's a huge part of me that just the way Ohio State has just been performing on offense. Just it's gonna be real tough. The
Tommy
world is
coming
now
with the
united.
fire.
He's right. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. I am rolling with the Irish tomorrow. I cannot live in a world where the Buckeyes win a college football championship. To me, they are the Dallas Cowboys of college football. I can't take it. I can't take it. I'm a Florida State fan, and I don't have any geographical reason to hate Ohio State. Just I can't stand a Buckeye championship. I think what it really goes down to is the way that the 2002 game between them and Miami played out.
Yeah,
because that absolutely was not pass interference. Absolutely was not pass interference. But I know our producer's pumping me up right now. I don't need it, but absolutely that was not pass interference, and I'm just sick. I'm just sick of that ugly symbol. I'm sick of that red O. I know what it is too. My former boss when I worked for the airlines is an Ohio State graduate, and just every time she come in the door, just bumping that Ohio State shit. But it should be a good, exciting matchup tomorrow, man. What are your thoughts?
I'm pumped. I'm pumped because both teams really stand on defense and running game in an era where we clearly know that quarterbacks are always the star. Quarterback's the most popular person in all of TV right now, if you look at the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
But both these teams have more of a game manager plus. I'm not going to say they're Ken Dorsey out here necessarily, speaking of early Miami teams, but they run the ship. And I could never ride with Notre Dame. And part of that is one of my best friends has always had a hard on for the Fighting Irish. But I was taught that in my family, we don't cheer for private schools. And I never liked Notre Dame because they think God is on their side, and that really has always rubbed me the wrong way. But of course,
touchdown Jesus is like 1,000 feet from the stadium.
What?
Jesus got they back, man. He makes a special appearance every Saturday on NBC during football season. What you talking about?
Oh, no. God is not on a football team. He is there to try to make sure all of the players come home safely. That's why he's there. And it just makes me crazy. But Ohio State, man, they really put it together this year. And to me, I would compare them more to the Dodgers, because the Cowboys have not won a championship in the last 30 years. The Buckeyes got 2 in this century, just like the Dodgers, as well as they should, because they have the resources to be in the mix every year. And Lord knows they have way more disappointments at the end than triumphs. So that's my comparison there. But food for thought for anyone that might not have known, 3 prominent starters for the Ohio State Buckeyes or from the great state of Washington up here in the Pacific Northwest. Emeka Egbuka is from Steilacoom, Washington. Most people have never even heard of that place. Even in my state, RG, Steilacoom would be west of Tacoma, kind of between Tacoma and Olympia towards the ocean. is how I describe where Steelicombe is. So I didn't even know they had good football players in that area. So great job of Mecca Ibuka. And then, of course, I told you before, edge rusher JT Tolamau and tight end G. Scott Jr. from the powerhouse Eastside Catholic in one of the affluent suburban communities in the Seattle area. Could I get mad they didn't go to UW? Yeah, but when they were all being recruited, the program's in disarray, and the bottom line is you got to do what's best for you and your family. So I ain't mad at that. If Ohio State came knocking on my door because I was that good when I was a teen, I might be dipping out too. So
So
that
what you're saying
what?
is that you can't cheer for a private school, but you could cheer for two kids who went to private school in Washington that play for Ohio State. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's how convoluted
Is that
sports
what I'm
fans
hearing?
make it out of their brain, man.
Just
I mean,
crisscrossing
you know how high school sports are. They don't recruit, but somehow these kids that couldn't afford to go to all these high schools somehow end up there.
Tay Williams, look at the chat. Tay Williams agrees with me, dog. What is you talking about? What did you talk about, man? It's snowing. It's snowing in two different directions in your house right now. Is what you're trying to tell me, Ovi?
It'll always be snowing in different directions around here.
Jeez.
We haven't even seen any this year. Thank the Lord.
Jeez. Nah, what it is Tyler believes in happy wife, happy life. And so he can keep getting that good food made. He ain't gonna piss off his wife and sit here and ride with me on this Ohio State hate just because she might or might not be monitoring this podcast.
Well, shit, and not when my team's 500 and didn't get a single road win. Holy shit, bro.
Oh man. No, it should be an exciting game. Both high class birthday. Hey man, the way it goes. The way it goes. You know, you become you become upper middle class, and you gotta protect her, so you try to put her in private school, but you know they still be coming in the parties in the hood. You know what I mean? Nah, man, but it should be a good, interesting game tomorrow. What scares me is playing all that man against Jeremiah Smith. Just eventually that dam's going to break. It broke for Oregon real quick. So hopefully we don't get a little bit of the same, but you got two Jeremiahs that are going to be the focal points of the offense tomorrow. You got Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State. You got Jeremiah Love, the running back from Notre Dame. Hopefully he's healthy, because I know he wasn't extremely healthy in the Penn State game. But hopefully he's healthy and we can see a good game. Notre Dame allows 50% completion percentage. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And a total QBR of 87.5. So, you know, there might be a good chance where Ohio State could get rolling. Former Oregon coach, former Eagle coach, Chip Kelly, with being their offensive coordinator. I can't stand the bastard, but he does have a pretty creative mind with how he likes to matriculate the ball down the field. So there is a chance it could get ugly real quick. Sunday evening media is Will Howard being overlooked in the draft. I don't know if he's so much being overlooked as much as the attention is on his wide receivers. If that makes any sense.
And I think he is who he is. I think he'd be a fine backup. I think he'll have a nice career as a backup.
Yeah.
There's no shame in that.
I'd call it the Tua syndrome, because if you were to put a different quarterback into that Miami offense, I think it would be better, but Tua is limited in his capabilities, so that's why you just get a lot of these quick slants that Waddle and Hill are able to turn into a 5-yard pass into a 40-yard play real quick. I think it's more on the weapons than it is on Tua. Maybe that's one of the things that they might be looking at. I wasn't real familiar with how he performed at Kansas State, so I can't give a full accurate statement on what he has and has not done over the course of his career. But what we can talk about is what he's done right now, and they've won almost each of their CFP games by damn near 20 points. So the dude is balling out of control right now. I'd
Mhm.
argue he's a better NFL prospect than Daniel Gabriel, Sunday Evening Media says. I'd buy that.
I agree.
I'd buy that. I'd buy that.
He just has the size. Gabriel's such a short player. You got to be such a special athlete to have a successful run as a short, under 6 foot quarterback. It's that simple.
True. True. Um,
I
Interesting
seen
to see
Will
how it
Howard a
goes.
little bit at Kansas State, dude. And the one thing, he's faster than most people realize because, like you said, he just has to distribute and be the point guard for Ohio State. If Notre Dame's playing a ton of man and turns their back on him, he might a difference in that game might be his ability to get a few first downs with his legs. But this is a fun matchup though. I'm really pumped about this matchup as a whole, as a football fan. Y'all know I'm a Northwest homer. My love for Ohio State is absolutely they're my team in law. I think that's how we could call it.
Making my head hurt, dog. No, I definitely get it, man. Hey, you could do worse. You could absolutely do worse. So not gonna hate on you too
It
much.
does feel kind of like being a front runner though. When you're such a Seattle fan and you always feel like your back's against the wall and you're trying to climb up the mountain. I'm like, I didn't climb up the mountain. Someone just brought me up in a helicopter, dropped me on that thing. I'm like, hey, here I am, y'all.
Hey man, I'm a Suns fan.
Oh
You watch your
no.
goddamn mouth, Mariners lifer. You watch your mouth. I come looking for you with Haitians. You watch your mouth, man. It's a terrible time to be a Suns fan. I, for the love of God, can't understand how we were in the finals with Chris Paul and Aiden and haven't done a damn thing with Kevin Durant. Just pisses me off to no end. Pisses me off to no end. I know they're talking about trying to make a play for Jimmy Butler. I don't know if that gets us over the hump either, man. But just being a Suns fan is just, but I've been used to it. We had a chance to kill the Dragon in '93 and then didn't get back to the NBA Finals until COVID. So, man, I don't know if those contracts allow it either because I think Bill has to waive his no-clay contract to even make any of that go down. So, Suns fans are just stuck like Chuck right now. But plenty of time to get into NBA moves as we get closer to the deadline and move on from there. Let's talk a little bit of baseball real quick before we let these cool people go for the evening. The Dodgers just seem to keep dodging. Today they agreed with. Pull up the stats here so we get it accurate.
You're right though. Dodgers doing Dodger type of things.
Dodgers just keep on dodging, and I know it's making people sick, but it's an arms race. It's really an arms race, and how can you be upset at the guy who has the capability to go buy the guns, and we just sit down and don't do anything in the meantime to try to do anything as Mariner fans? So we'll start off with the big fish that they signed. Roki Sasaki earlier in this week made an agreement to come over and join Shohei and Yamamoto and create a power dynamic there. Trying to see if I can see the number that he signed for. But as far as the stats go, I mean, he posted a 2.35 ERA over 111 innings in a league with a 3.04 aggregate ERA with a 7.1 strikeout rate. And we did get to see that guy perform during the World Baseball Classic. And just to add to the murderous row pitching staff that they are going to have when the season opens is just I know a lot of people are screaming that there needs to be a cap and they got to do something about it. I say if you want to do something about it, spend the money to go out and compete with them. Why should the guy who has the Ferrari go buy a Honda because you can only afford a Mitsubishi? Why should he do that? Then this morning
A
before
lot of teams are just pocketing. A lot of teams are just pocketing.
absolutely.
Including
Absolutely.
ours.
A lot of them are just making sure that they got the nice fancy house at the end of the block, instead of reinvesting in their product. But again, I've said it often, a good drug dealer makes his money off the re-up. And only the Dodgers seem to be pushing weight.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So then this morning before football got started, Dodgers agreed to close at Tanner Scott, 4 years, 72 million. Dude was balling when he performed for the Marlins, then got to San Diego, did his thing too. And since they just got money to blow, they said, why don't you come tighten up the back end of this rotation for us? And to me, unless somebody goes out and gets Bregman and Alonso at the same time, off season's over, and it's the LA Invitational once we come out of spring training. If their pitching staff is at 100, if it's 100% healthy, it's a wrap. It absolutely is a wrap. I know we're Mariner fans and we hang our hat on our pitching staff. Dodgers got us beat to a man now.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I want to talk about the Mariners though, because we actually made a sneaky good signing, and of course, it's right up the Dodgers' alley. We went out and splurged for $3.5 million. I mean, seriously, the Dodgers are finding that under the couch. But don't get it twisted. Donovan Solano, although he's 37 years old, which worries the shit out of me, he's a career 279 hitter, and just last year in 2024. He hit 286 with a 760 OPS and 8 home runs. That would be a giant upgrade for us. And one guy we've been throwing around that we've wanted for a couple years now, Luis Arias, they actually had the exact same WAR last year. So for whatever that's worth, this is actually a sneaky good signing. But of course, it made me crack up laughing. Typical Mariners fashion. We trade your boy cash considerations for Miles Masterboni, who just dominated in 2024 with a 194 average and a negative .3 WAR. Mariners getting guys that are worse than an average player, average minor leaguer. That's what we do up here, baby.
We couldn't even get the 2 a.m. or at the club when the lights was coming on. We had to go to Waffle House and get the cookout to back at 4 a.m. Is what the hell are we doing? And yeah, Donovan Solano's a good sneaky signing, but does that bridge the gap for us? Does a 37-year-old, is that 37-year-old going to help get us to the brink of finally breaking Houston's stringing hold on the division?
Mm-hmm.
Had to pay for absolutely Sunday evening media. That's what we out here doing. We're not only pimping in the parking lot, but we pimping in the geriatric parking lot.
I just want to comment on Tyson Baxter wanting a salary floor and cap. It's coming because the CBA for the players union in Major League Baseball is going to come to an end within the next year or two, and a vast majority of the owners hate what's going on with the Dodgers and the Mets and the extreme wealth of some teams and how other teams have to budget so carefully. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but there's likely going to be a giant battle in terms of the negotiations on the next player contract with the owners of Major League Baseball, and it might get ugly to the point where lockouts, strikes, owners fighting owners. This one's going to get ugly in terms of economic fighting. So it'll be interesting to see, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if there's a floor and a cap. And I think that's why the Dodgers are looking ahead a couple years and spending so much right now, because they might see the end is near, and also why they're getting so many players to defer money so they don't have to just have a fire sale on all of their guys when all of this shit goes down in these negotiations.
Very interesting questions Sunday Evening Media has. What would happen to teams that have massive payrolls that would easily be over the cap? Would they have to shed contracts? I think we're going to have to wait to see how the negotiations run out before we can begin to speculate on that. I can just tell you, for one, I am not a fan of that. I have no problem with the way that baseball does things. I'm old enough to listen to George Steinbrenner look at the camera on national TV and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make my team competitive in the long run. And if we go back just even to the end of the 2003 baseball season, where Yankees beat the Red Sox in the ALCS but lose to the Marlins, they both came out just in a complete arms race just to go get the best talent possible, willing to cut the checks and do everything. And if you're in a position to do that without the rules that the NBA, NHL, and the NFL have, spend your money. If you don't scare money, you don't make money. And if you are more interested in making your profits coming in off the turnstiles, putting bars up, and acting like you're doing the best you can to make your team competitive, hey, that's on you, dog. But don't be the one whining when the guy that has the means to the ends to be able to go out and gets what he wants does exactly that. Again, why should he buy a Honda because you can only afford a Mitsubishi?
Well, my whole problem is if all that happens, it's literally going to be more money to the players and less money, or excuse me. It'll be more money for the owners, less money for the players. The trickle down effect will be less money for the beer guy, less money for the hot dog guy, less money for the people working the concessions. So I don't think it's generic, like going to just instantly be a win-win. Also, Sunday evening media is asking, are they going to shed contracts? They would have to grandfather this whole thing in, but it would be really interesting. Some teams will have to make a lot of crazy decisions. And RG, let's just go back to the early 90s really quick, early to mid 90s. And the NFL, that's when they instituted free agency and the salary cap. We saw a lot of big market teams like Dallas and San Francisco spent way more than the rest of the league. They lost a ton of their good players. They came back to the rest of the pack. And an unintended consequence that happened then was the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers had great starts to their franchises when most teams, suck in their first 10 to 15 years, but they were there because they had no player payroll yet, and they just picked off every single good free agent, and they were able to have playoff quality teams right away. That's not going to happen necessarily for baseball, but it is kind of funny how that all went down. And you gotta at least it's going to be interesting to say, but you can't just strip teams of their players immediately. And RG, could you anyways, because they're under contract?
Lawsuits is coming, dog. Get you that law degree and go make you some money. Mariners lifer, man, I'm with you. If you can't spend competitively, then do not buy a sports team. And
right.
I don't know if anybody has really read Moneyball other than just watch the movie. He posed a question then, if a lot of these baseball teams are failing to make profit, why were all the rich dudes running to go buy them up? And here we are now, 20 years later, and again, the haves and have-nots in baseball are absolutely clear. Again, I got no issue with what the Dodgers are doing. Cohen would do it. Steinbrenner would do it. Just keep up until they change the rule. Keep up.
And we're diehard Mariners fans, bro, and a Mariners lifer. I wonder who he cheers for. But the bottom line is this year, the Mariners were 9th in total revenue. And as we stand right now, we're 18th in player payroll. That doesn't add up. If we were roughly the same, if we were about 9th and 9th, I wouldn't say anything. But when you're the 9th in gross revenue and you're 18th in player payroll, that's some bullshit the fans shouldn't have to stand for. But we don't cut the checks. We don't get to make those decisions. But I'm still pumped that baseball is around the corner. And there could be another big move for the Mariners because it looks like guys like Bregman, and Anthony Santander might be looking for short-term deals because they're not feeling the long-term deals that they were hoping for. And this has actually worked great for a couple of stars recently. Carlos Correa and Blake Snell both signed prove-it short deals. And then in the off seasons, after proving themselves yet again, they got the gigantic deals that they were looking for. So it might be a path for the Mariners. And I've always said, I know, don't give them 300 million. Maybe what if we give them 30 million with like a player opt out for the next couple of years? bring in someone as significant so I don't have to talk about a 37-year-old fucking big leaguer, dude.
Yeah, Tay. Hate to break it to you, dog. hate to break it to you, dog. But yeah, man, they was letting that boy have a little bit too much fun when he took the team over and got rid of Landry and my uncle off the coaching staff. Had a little bit too much fun. Tyson Baxter, I wish my O's would trade a young bat for one of those big bat arms in Seattle. You know what is going to be the issue with that is the return's not going to be as even as you think.
Mm.
The return wouldn't be as even as you think. And we just got some issues in Seattle. What we need to do is be willing to break bread with some of our prospects. Up until we're willing to do that, I think we're just going to be hovering over the runway waiting for an opportunity to land. And hopefully we get to that point sooner than later.
Shit. But those prospects might get them that 54%. We don't need to dive deep into that, but you know what time it is. And another thing is they're reporting that the Mariners front office is being extremely stingy with their trade talks amongst their pitchers. So our guys might even be giving out deals that are just unrealistic for the other teams to complete. And if that's it, it takes two to tango. And if we're out here being dicks in the business world, that's not how you get those handshakes done and these deals finished.
Grandma used to always say it's easier to catch flies with honey than vinegar. But what does she know? Right? Man, so it's been
always knows best, man.
Always knows best, man. So let's kind of put a cap on this whole thing, man, and have a little bit of fun as we rock forward with this. We all know we've said it already. I'm rolling with the Irish tomorrow. Tyler has no choice if he wants to maintain his marriage other than cheer for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Championship Sunday, a week from today. Tyler, give me your picks on who is going to make the trip down to Nowlands for Super Bowl 59.
It's going to be the Bills and the Eagles.
Tyler's rolling with the Bills and the Eagles. You could tell by the hat I got on who I'm cheering for to come out the NFC. Probably an unpopular pick, man, but up until the Eagles are eliminated, the only other team I want to see win the Super Bowl is Kansas City. I'm a fan of history. We've never seen a three-peat again, and I'm an old-school wrestling fan, and I believe in the words of Ric Flair. In order to be the man, you got to beat the man. So if you're sick of the Kansas City dynasty, then someone has to run them off the field, and I think of the three teams left to be able to have an opportunity to do that, Gang Green will be the one. I got us in a tight victory, getting by Washington. I got Kansas City sneaking by Josh Allen once again, and on February 29th, we get the rematch to 3 years in the waiting, dog. Eagles and Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. Yes, sir. Mariners Lifers with me. Chiefs Eagles rematch. Sunday evenings with Ty. Eagles Bills. Tommy Commander Bills. I want the Eagles, but I think Washington does it, and we have our first ever rookie quarterback starting the Super Bowl again. If it's not the Eagles, I'm down for history, man. So I'm not mad at that pick at all. Let's see if I can get him to send me what he thinks. Super producer Andy, who you got, man? Let us know, brother. You could send it over the text if you don't want to turn on your mic. I get it. But yeah, man, a couple real good schedule coming up. Also know there's another event going on tomorrow. Again, we don't harp on that. Had your chance to give your opinion in November. But he is now the commander in chief, and you ain't got no choice but to respect it, dog. So let's just hope for actual work being done as we move forward with it. Chiefs and Eagles, baby. Let's go. Also, tomorrow is a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. Remember the work that he's done. I like to call for a day of action. So if you can impact the life of somebody somehow, it doesn't even have to be financially. You got some old clothes laying around that you don't wear. You got some old appliances somewhere around. Take them to your local Goodwill or whoever does that in your neighborhood and just try to help make somebody's life better, man. Any last words you got for the people, Ty?
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up, but huge shout out to Martin Luther King Day. Obviously, I'm not an African American myself, but clearly I have no ill will towards any people for any reason other than if you are a terrible, shitty human being. And to me, MLK Day is just a time for us to reflect and realize that the differences are what makes this world so great. And although there's been so much division, especially in the history of our country, especially, I mean, the 1960s is only 60 years ago. We act like that's back in the revolutionary time period. The civil rights movement is actually just in the rearview mirror when you really think about it. So just remember about all the differences in our communities, but that's what makes this place such a great place to live. And on that, I saw a really cool thing with the LA Dodgers to tie into Martin Luther King Day with some sports. I sent these guys a meme that Joseph Dang, a young man from South Sudan, was signed by the Dodgers, the first ever human being to be signed to professional baseball out of South Sudan. 6'7" pitcher with 95-mile-per-hour heat. Oh, Tommy, I'm divided, man. I'm a standout here on my own then. Buckeyes for life. But no, seriously, um, I just wanted to say that was really cool by the Dodgers. And if people didn't know, the Dodgers as a franchise have always been on the forefront of signing minorities of any type, from Jackie Robinson, Fernando Valenzuela, Hideo Nomo, Chan Ho Park, and Kim Ong, a Korean American woman who was risen to the top of the baseball executive ranks. The Dodgers have always been on the forefront of getting baseball to be as inclusive as a sport as we possibly can. So thank you to that, and thank you to Martin Luther King, who obviously made the ultimate sacrifice to try to make a better place for his people.
Yeah, man. We'll get in the weeds as you follow us off mic, and we can have a lengthy talk about that. But again, there's nothing more important in this world than the people in it. So be kind to your fellow man. We all got things we're going through, and you never know just how simple as something is. Hey, man, good morning. Hey, girl, good morning. Can I help affect somebody? Tyson Baxter, I'm old enough to remember firsthand stories of Dr. King and his impact. The communities of my people, I hope tomorrow we all embody the spirit of morality, strength, and unity. The road is not going to be easy. There's definitely some roadblocks that we have, but we're stronger together than we are apart. And I think that that's the way I'm going to end that. Yeah, man, get ready, get buckled in, enjoy tomorrow, enjoy the national championship. I'm thinking the consensus is we'll join you guys after the championship games tomorrow. I mean, on next Sunday, and depending on how the Eagles game goes, I may or may not be inebriated out of my goddamn mind. So, yeah, man. Just have a lot of fun and be safe this week. This has been My Oh My, it's another sports podcast brought to you by the good folks at Vaden Podcast Services. We are live each and every Sunday over the airwaves of YouTube and Twitch. For those of you who can't be a part of the live, we ask that you download us wherever you like to get your favorite podcast from. We're normally available Monday evenings and Tuesday mornings on your favorite podcast platforms. Follow us on our socials at My Oh My ASP. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. I think they just reinstated TikTok, so we might be back on TikTok. You can find me and Tyler on OnlyFans selling pictures of our feet for those of you who are nasty and into that kind of freaky shit. Find us on MySpace if you want to. But again, this isn't anything without the live chat, and we thank you guys for being a part of us. A big shout out to our social media director, Ms. Katie Matsumoto, for doing what you do for us. And don't forget to check out our producer Indy's music page on YouTube, Death to Indy. Boy's got some good tracks. Give him some likes, subscribe, and see what he has coming next for you. Coming from Little Lake Stevens, Washington, that's your man, Ty Talks 24. Indy, super producer all the way from Nashville, Tennessee with Vaden Podcast Services. I'm the #1 Eagles fan. You know your boy RG, coming from the 505, the Cinco Cero Cinco. We'll see you next Sunday, each and every week, right here for My Oh My. It's another sports podcast.